All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to tackle something pretty common, actually, but not always well understood, and that's shingles.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? You hear about it, but maybe you don't really know what it is until it hits you or someone close to you.
Exactly. And, our listeners have sent in a ton of stuff, medical websites, a Wikipedia article, even a YouTube video from, like, a real doctor.
Yeah.
So clearly they want the full scoop.
And they should get it right. It can be pretty nasty.
Okay, so mission for this deep dive is let's figure out what shingles is, why it's so darn painful, and what we can do about it. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan. And, maybe we can bust some myths along the way, too.
Love it. Myth busting, always a good time. Okay, so first things first. What exactly is shingles? I mean, I know it involves a rash, but
Right, but it's more than just a rash. It all starts with the varicella zoster virus. VZV for short.
VZV, is that the chickenpox virus?
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Wait, so shingles is caused by the chickenpox virus. But I thought chickenpox was like a childhood thing.
It is. But here's the sneaky part. After you have chickenpox, the virus doesn't completely disappear. It kind of hides out in your nerve cells like a little ninja, just waiting for its chance to strike again.
Okay, now that is sneaky. So, like, anyone who's had chickenpox could potentially get shingles later on.
Exactly. It's estimated that like 1 in 3 people who've had chickenpox will develop shingles at some point in their lives.
Wow, those are not odds I like. So, what triggers the virus to, come out of hiding and cause shingles?
That's the million-dollar question, right? We know that a weakened immune system is a big factor. As we age, our immune systems naturally become a little less vigilant.
So it's like our defenses are down
Yeah.
and the virus sees its opportunity.
Exactly. And it's not just age. Certain medical conditions, medications, even stress can weaken the immune system and make you more susceptible.
Oh, yeah, the YouTube doctor we watched, he really hammered on that stress point. He even mentioned a study, I think, that found people with high stress levels were more likely to develop shingles.
It makes sense, right? When we're stressed, our bodies release all these hormones, like cortisol, that can suppress the immune system.
It's like stress gives the virus a VIP pass to wreak havoc. Okay, so we've got the chickenpox virus lurking in our nerves, waiting for our immune systems to slip up. Not exactly a comforting thought.
Not exactly, but hey, the more we know, the better we can protect ourselves.
Yeah, do that. Okay, so let's talk about the fun part, the symptoms. We know there's a rash, but how bad does it get?
Well, it's not just any rash. It's usually pretty painful. A lot of people describe it as like a burning, stabbing, or shooting pain.
Ooh, that sounds delightful. No wonder they call it fire belt in Arabic, right? ICA, I think it was.
You got it. And that name really captures the essence of it. It's because the virus travels along nerves, causing inflammation and damage. So it's not just skin irritation, it's actual nerve pain.
Ouch. So it's like a double whammy. You've got the pain from the rash itself plus the nerve pain on top of that.
Pretty much. And sometimes the pain can actually start before the rash even appears.
Really? So you might not even know you have shingles at first.
Exactly. Which is why it's sometimes misdiagnosed. The Wikipedia article even mentions some cases where people thought they were having a heart attack or appendicitis because the pain can be so intense and localized.
That's scary. So it's really important to see a doctor if you have any unusual pain, especially if you're in that higher risk group we talked about.
Absolutely. Early diagnosis and treatment can make a huge difference in how the illness progresses.
Speaking of treatment, let's get into that. I mean, we've got all these sources suggesting everything from antiviral meds to like calamine lotion and coconut oil and even manuka honey. Where do we even start?
Well, the good news is that there are effective treatments available. Antiviral medications are usually the first line of defense. They help stop the virus from replicating and can shorten the duration of the illness.
So they kind of put the brakes on the virus, preventing it from spreading and doing more damage.
Exactly. But it's important to start them as soon as possible after symptoms appear. Like within 72 hours is ideal.
Okay, so early intervention is key. But what about the pain? Do antivirals help with that too?
They can help reduce the severity and duration of the pain, but they don't necessarily eliminate it completely. That's where pain relievers come in. Over-the-counter options like ibuprofen or acetaminophen can be helpful for mild pain.
And for the less mild pain.
Your doctor might prescribe something stronger. And then there are those home remedies you mentioned, calamine lotion, cool compresses, oatmeal baths. Those can be really helpful for soothing the skin and relieving itching.
Right, right. But I guess it's important to remember that those are more for symptom relief, not actually tackling the virus itself, right?
Exactly. They can provide comfort, but they shouldn't replace medical treatment.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach. You need to address the virus, manage the pain, and also take care of your skin.
Precisely. And, one thing that's really important to remember is that shingles is not just about physical symptoms. It can also have a big impact on mental health.
Oh, right, right. I mean, chronic pain, especially something like shingles, can really mess with your mood, your sleep.
Absolutely. And we're going to dive deeper into that whole emotional and psychological aspect in the next part of our deep dive. But for now, I think we've laid a pretty solid foundation, wouldn't you say?
We've covered a lot of ground for sure, from the sneaky virus to the painful rash, and even the importance of early treatment. But yeah, there's still so much more to explore.
There is, and I'm looking forward to getting into those nitty-gritty details in part 2.
Can't wait. Okay, so we're back, and I gotta say, shingles is way more complicated than I thought. Like, who knew the chickenpox virus could be such a drama queen, hiding out in your nerves for years, just waiting to make a comeback?
Right. It's like a never-ending story. But hey, at least we're getting the inside scoop now.
So let's dig a little deeper into this whole weakened immune system thing, because that seems to be the key, right? Like, that's when the virus sees its chance to strike.
It's definitely a major player. And one of the biggest factors is, well, just plain getting older. As we age, our immune systems naturally become a little less robust.
So it's like our defenses start to get a little rusty.
Yeah, you could say that. It's like any system in the body, it wears down over time. And the medical websites, they all point to age 50 as that kind of turning point where the risk of shingles really jumps up.
50, huh? Well, that's just around the corner for some of us. But hey, at least there's that vaccine, right? The Shingrix one.
Exactly. And it's highly recommended for folks over 50. It can significantly reduce the risk of getting shingles. And even if you do get it, it'll likely be a milder case.
Okay, that's reassuring. But what about folks who are, younger than 50? Are they totally safe from this shingles shenanigans?
Well, younger people can get shingles too, especially if their immune system is compromised for some reason. We talked about stress earlier, but there are other things too, like certain medical conditions. HIV, cancer, even autoimmune diseases, those can all weaken the immune system.
So it's not just about being old. It's about anything that messes with your immune system's mojo. Which makes me think back to that YouTube doctor and his whole spiel about lifestyle choices. Like, was he just giving us generic health advice, or does that actually tie into shingles prevention?
Oh, he was totally on to something. Things like chronic stress, lack of sleep, a crappy diet, all those things can chip away at your immune system over time.
So it's like a slow burn. You might not notice it right away, but those unhealthy habits can eventually catch up with you.
Exactly. And on the flip side, managing stress, getting enough sleep, eating a balanced diet, those can all help boost your immune system and make you less susceptible to shingles.
Okay, so it's not just about dodging the virus. It's about making sure your body's ready to fight it off should it decide to show up.
Exactly. It's like building up your defenses, making sure your body is a fortress, not a welcome mat for the virus.
Love that analogy. Fortress versus welcome mat. Okay, so we've got age, we've got underlying conditions, we've got lifestyle choices. Anything else that can increase your risk of shingles?
Well, certain medications, like those used for immunosuppression after organ transplants, can also increase the risk.
Right, right. So it's really all about that immune system, huh? Keep it strong, and you're less likely to get hit with the shingles stick.
Pretty much. And speaking of getting hit, let's talk about treatment, because we kind of glossed over that last time, and it's kind of important, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got antiviral meds, pain relievers, all those home remedies. It's a lot to keep straight.
It can be. But the good news is we've got options, and the sooner you start treatment, the better.
Okay, so time is of the essence. But what does treatment actually involve? Like, what's the first line of defense?
Usually it's antiviral medications, acyclovir, valacyclovir, famciclovir, those are the big names. And they work by essentially stopping the virus from replicating, so it can't spread and do more damage.
So it's like hitting the pause button on the virus.
Exactly. But, and this is key, you got to start those antivirals within 72 hours of the first symptoms, like that first tingle, that burning sensation.
72 hours. Got it. So no time to waste. But what if you miss that window? Are you doomed?
No, not doomed. The antivirals might not be as effective, but they can still help shorten the duration of the illness and reduce the severity of symptoms. Plus, there are other things that can help manage the pain and discomfort.
Okay, so don't panic if you don't catch it right away, but definitely get to a doctor ASAP. And what about those other things you mentioned, like for pain management?
Well, over-the-counter pain relievers like ibuprofen or acetaminophen can help with mild pain. And for more severe cases, your doctor might prescribe something stronger.
And what about those home remedies? The calamine lotion, the cool compresses, all that jazz. Do those actually do anything, or are they just kind of, for comfort?
They can definitely provide some relief. Calamine lotion can help soothe the itching. Cool compresses can reduce inflammation. Oatmeal baths can be really soothing for the skin.
So they're not curing anything, but they can make the whole experience a little less miserable.
Exactly. And some people even find that coconut oil or manuka honey can be helpful for their antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties. But again, it's important to remember that these home remedies shouldn't replace medical treatment.
Okay, so home remedies, good for support, but not a substitute for the real deal. Got it.
Oh.
But there's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and it's kind of the scariest part of shingles.
You talking about postherpetic neuralgia?
Bingo. The chronic pain that can stick around even after the rash is gone, that's the real nightmare, right?
It can be, yeah. It's basically nerve pain that persists long after the shingles infection itself has cleared up, and it can be really debilitating.
And there's no way to predict who's going to get it, right?
Unfortunately, no. But we do know that older adults and those who had a more severe case of shingles are at higher risk.
So another reason to get that vaccine, huh? It might not prevent shingles altogether, but it could at least make it less likely to lead to this chronic pain thing.
Exactly. And speaking of chronic pain, that's where things can get really tricky. Because there's no one-size-fits-all solution for managing it.
Right, right. I remember that YouTube doctor saying something about like a multidisciplinary approach.
Yeah, he was spot on. It often involves a combination of medications, physical therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. Even alternative therapies like acupuncture might be helpful.
So it's about finding what works best for the individual. There's no magic bullet.
Exactly. But, beyond the physical pain, we also need to talk about the emotional and psychological toll that shingles can take. Because chronic pain, it can really mess with your head,
Oh, absolutely. It can affect your sleep, your mood, your relationships. It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly. And then there's the social stigma that can come with shingles. I mean, the rash can be pretty noticeable, and people might not understand what it is or even be a little freaked out by it.
Right, right. So not only are you dealing with the pain and discomfort, but you might also feel self-conscious or even isolated because of it.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to talk about these things, to raise awareness and let people know that shingles is not their fault. It's a common virus, and there's support available.
Absolutely. So we've talked about the physical stuff, the treatments, the complications, but we can't forget about the emotional and psychological side of things. It's all connected.
100%. And that's actually a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive, where we're going to explore those aspects in more detail.
Can't wait. This is getting deep. And we're back. Shingles, man. Who knew the chickenpox virus was capable of such a dramatic second act?
Right. Talk about holding a grudge. But hey, at least we're armed with knowledge now, and that's half the battle, wouldn't you say?
For sure. So before we get into the whole mental health aspect of shingles, which we touched on last time, I'm curious, is there anything new and exciting on the horizon for treatment? I know the medical websites mention some new antiviral meds in development.
Oh, absolutely. There's always research going on trying to find even better ways to combat this virus. Some of the new antivirals in the pipeline are designed to target VZV in completely different ways, so potentially faster healing, fewer complications, that sort of thing.
Okay, that's good to hear. Because even though the current antivirals seem pretty effective, if you catch them early enough, there's always room for improvement, right?
Exactly. But the real challenge, and this is something researchers are really focusing on, is finding more effective ways to manage postherpetic neuralgia. That chronic pain, it's a real beast.
Yeah, because chronic pain in general is just so tricky to treat. There's no magic bullet, unfortunately.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
But there's definitely hope. I mean, we're seeing new medications being developed specifically for nerve pain, as well as non-drug therapies like nerve blocks and even electrical stimulation.
So a lot of different avenues being explored, which is good. Gives people options, right? But, it makes you wonder, like, what actually triggers the varicella zoster virus to reactivate in the first place? I mean, it can be dormant for years, decades even, and then suddenly, bam, shingles.
It is a bit of a mystery, isn't it? And honestly, we don't have a definitive answer yet, but it's probably a whole bunch of factors working together. Changes in the immune system, maybe hormonal shifts, even environmental triggers. Who knows?
So it's like a perfect storm situation. All these things got to line up just right for the virus to make its move.
It seems that way. But the good news is the more we learn about those triggers, the better we'll be at figuring out how to prevent reactivation in the first place.
Fingers crossed. But in the meantime, we got to deal with the reality of shingles. And that includes the mental and emotional toll it can take. We touched on this last time, but I think it deserves a deeper dive, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about the physical pain, the rash, the potential for long-term complications, but shingles can also have a huge impact on your mental well-being.
Yeah, because chronic pain in general can really wear you down. It can mess with your sleep, make you irritable, even lead to depression and anxiety.
It's a vicious cycle, really. The pain makes it hard to sleep, the lack of sleep makes the pain worse, and so on. Plus, you might have to miss work, social events, all the things that bring you joy.
And then there's that whole social stigma thing, right? People see the rash and they might not understand what it is. They might even be a little freaked out, like it's contagious or something.
Exactly. So not only are you dealing with the physical symptoms, but you might also feel self-conscious, isolated, even embarrassed.
Like a double whammy.
Mm.
So what can people do to cope with all of that? I mean, besides the obvious, like seeking medical treatment for the pain.
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to remember that you're not alone. Shingles is a very common virus, and there are tons of people out there going through the exact same thing.
Yeah, and there are resources available, right? Like support groups, online forums, even therapy.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to reach out for help, whether it's from friends, family, a therapist, or even just a support group. It can make a world of difference just knowing that you're not going through this alone.
And honestly, even just educating yourself about shingles can be empowering. Like knowing what to expect, knowing that it's not your fault, that it will eventually pass, that can help alleviate some of the anxiety and fear, right?
Totally. Knowledge is power, as they say. And the more you know about shingles, the better equipped you'll be to manage it, both physically and emotionally.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From the sneaky nature of the varicella zoster virus to the complexities of shingles and all its potential complications, both physical and emotional. It's been quite a journey.
It has, but hopefully a worthwhile one. We've explored the science, the symptoms, the treatments, the emotional impact. I mean, what else is there to say about shingles?
I think we've pretty much covered it all. But hey, listeners, if you have any questions or you just want to share your own shingles story, you know where to find us.
And remember, folks, whether you're dealing with shingles right now or you're just trying to stay informed, you are not alone. There's support available, there's hope, and there's always something new to learn.
Well said. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay healthy.